This totem pole represents founders of the Pilchuck Glass School.
The totem pole brings an artifact in which all of Pilchuck's history and yet its aspirations are condensed.
It was celebrating 3 decades, 3 founders, 3 generations of artists at Pilchuck.
When I look at the totem pole, I'm reminded of the role that each of these 3 founders has played.
If I bring people to visit, it's the first place I drive right up to the totem pole, and I can tell the whole story of the school. It's a great introduction.
It honors history, but it also teaches about how things like institutions come about. They don't jump fully formed. They come about because people take risks and care and support it.
That kind of energy, that kind of spirit comes full circle in the totem pole.
In a way, it becomes a symbol of how something good comes into being.
This is a glass feather, and this is what keeps me in a calm place. I'm calling on my feathered friends to help me out today. So the whole goal of this totem is that everyone thinks it's light as a feather.
I asked my woman, "Are you ready?" She says, "Yes." Little butterflies, but that's okay. The song that she's doing now, we do those just before we get into action, and that's what we'll be doing as we carry the totem pole back down that way.
All right, if we can all gather kind of right over right here in the middle here, we're going to prepare to take this pole to the totem site. We're all going to work together. I'm very happy today. This is a great day. So, Charlie, would you care to say some words?
It's a privilege, very much a privilege to be here. Shall we pray? Bless us, Seach. Kajas Sanak, Ejini. Yeah, I'm gonna teach you that. Haguk, we go.
Okay, I want to give a thanks to the Swimminish tribe. This is their land. And we're very grateful for having them allow us to bring this totem from Alaska down into their country and have the right to go ahead and stand it up in the proper manner. We must be thinking of our elders. We must not forget our next generation, and we must give thanks to that tribe for letting us do this. So having done that, I need 22 volunteers.
Every time I would come to a session at Pilchuck, I'd bring these photographs of my Alaska experience just to share. And Preston was really the only person who came up to me afterward. I never met him before. And he said, "I'm of Tlingit heritage." And he was totally enthusiastic with the photographs I had. And we bonded from then on.
I'm a member of the Tlingit tribe, and they come from Alaska region, southeast Alaska. And my great-grandmother came from Sitka, which is a small island off the coast. In 1988, I met David Svenson, and I had been working with just the process of blowing glass and making decorative arts, European style vases and bowls, and kind of learning the basic skills of glass blowing.
So I mentioned to him, I said, "You should do something in glass relating to your Tlingit tradition." And at night, he sandblasts an amazing design on a piece of glass. Goes, "Here, Dave, you can have this, my first piece." So I have that at home. I think, well, I treasure it.
It was my first sort of effort of trying to combine glass and Northwest Coast designs, because I was really kind of searching for a way of creating something that was a little bit more uniquely my own.
The idea of the totem pole came from my past experience in Haines, Alaska, Klukwan, Alaska, where I learned totem carving, and then changing my life from wood carving to glass. At that point, it really made sense to talk about this idea of the totem pole to Preston and see what we could come up with.
I'm Nu-Chah-Nulth, and our nation is from the west coast of Vancouver Island. I come from a traditional carving family. When I first heard about the project, I wasn't drawn to it. Probably primarily my focus in art has been a traditional and not anything contemporary.
The totem pole with neon and lights in it, glows in the dark. Yeah, it sounds like some kind of hokey Las Vegas souvenir, you know.
But once the pole was here and I saw it, and I met the designers and the carvers, I was immediately drawn to it. It was very well designed and a very beautiful project.
Joe David and I met in the summer of 2000, and he was an artist in residence for the school, and I was his artist assistant. And we actually created a ceremonial spot on the campus where we did some sweat lodge ceremonies and things, and he sort of was our guide.
Joe was a gift for many of us. He brought a spiritual energy that kept us all pretty grounded.
When people came together on this campus, it didn't matter if they were artists or non-artists, if they were native or non-native, or if they were teachers or students.
I never had any, glass experience before. So, when I first got here, I was almost freaking out. I was, oh man, all these students that are around, they got much more knowledge than I do. So I was nervous, but this whole environment, we really got to know each other very well, and this whole place started to be turned into sort of like my family.
Everyone was here to be at the service of this incredible movement of energy. There was so much subtle, quiet power to it.
Okay, hold. Down easy. From the heart. All right.
On behalf of Pilchuck Glass School, it is my honor to extend welcome to everyone here, to the carvers who helped design it and create it, to Preston and David who've taught class, to students in the class, but to all of you on campus who have participated this time. The school is now 30 years old, and so this pole is an anniversary, is a thank you to the founders.
It's sort of a trinity of people who make Pilchuck possible, and the totem pole is the perfect symbol of that.
There's something about myself, John, Annie, we're all three completely different.
There's John Hauberg, the financial supporter, the pragmatist, but also the risk taker. There's Annie Gould Hauberg, the supporter in really a moral and spiritual way. And there's Dale, who really brings the creativity.
I was always looking for people that were interesting like Dale, and he was looking for his career too, and accidentally you bump into each other, and accidentally the timing is right.
About 3 or 4 years before we started Pilchuck, I was teaching at a summer school called Haystack in Maine, and I started thinking about, gee, what would it be like to start a school like Haystack, only in my home state. So I got a little grant, and we came out. A friend of mine, Jack Leonard Larson, a fabric designer, contacted the Haubergs and asked them about some property, and they said they were willing to give us the property for the project. I mean, let me tell you, in 1971, I don't want to tell you how we looked, but it was pretty scary. And the Haubergs, he's a fairly straight guy. He didn't care how long our hair was or what we were wearing. He believed in us. There were 16 students, and they were told that they had to build their own place to sleep. So everybody built their own shelter, and at the same time, we started building the school, which was originally very small, maybe 40 feet in diameter, and had 2 furnaces and 2 annealing ovens. It took us 14 days to finish the school with a tent top and start the furnaces. But the idea, it was really only going to be a 1 summer deal, probably. John Hauberg came up after the summer. We took a walk and he asked me, how much of your own money did you spend on building the school? And I said, well, I think I owe the bank $7,000. And he said, how much do you want to do it again next year? And I said, really, to do a decent job, I'd need $25,000. And he said, all right, I'll give you the 7 and I'll give you the 25. And we did that same thing for 10 years.
The pole arrived in January of 2000, shipped in from Ketchikan north to Haines, Alaska, where Alaska Indian Arts, the carving center, is located. I worked with a group of carvers there, roughing out the pole to get it ready to ship down to Pilchuck for the final carving and fine-tuning.
The history of totem poles goes back a long time. We know that there were totem poles on the northern northwest coast when the first Europeans arrived in 1774, and there are some early drawings done in the late 18th century of totem poles in Haida Gwaii, the Queen Charlotte Islands, and also mortuary poles in Yakutat Bay area. And so we know that they predate the arrival of the first Europeans, and they were initially, we think, memorials to deceased chiefs. They were house frontal poles that proclaimed the identity of who lived in the house. So there are certain human, animal, supernatural beings that relate to the family's history, and they display them on totem poles.
Well, geez, I guess I don't have to lift it out then.
Without Preston involved in this project, it wouldn't have happened. He shared this vision with me, and he had a proper heritage to propose this to the Pilchuck board. In the Tlingit culture, you do something or someone gives you something, and at some point you need to reciprocate. Being I'm not Tlingit, but I've been adopted into the Tlingit family, some way how I could possibly help is my thinking. Seeing the community here and the experience in Klukwan, Alaska, where I learned totem carving and culture, I thought this would be a great merging of these two beautiful disciplines and cultures.
When you see it, that's one thing, but when you do it, and then you know how complicated it is, that these things, to be expressed correctly, have to be correctly understood, what you're trying to do.
The bottom figure is John Hauberg, and he's shown wearing a wolf shakiet, which ties into his name, which is Guchkiates, which means dark wolf. And he's shown holding a tina, which is a copper piece, which denotes sort of the high status of a chief, and the dagger inlaid into that tina.
John Hauberg was born into a timber-related family in the Midwest, came to Seattle, studied forestry at the University of Washington. He actually bought land himself, land that now surrounds Pilchuck.
John Hauberg owned the double-headed killer whale dagger, and it was one of the objects that was a little bit in question, so he found out who the owners of the particular dagger was and repatriated it to the family. And so as a result, he was adopted and given a Tlingit name.
John Hauberg's interest in Native American art really actually stemmed from his father back in the Midwest. His father was a collector, collected arrowheads, was involved with the tribal associations in the Midwest. So John, when he moved to the Pacific Northwest, looked to see what native heritage there was here and amassed a collection that actually was the largest ever collection of coastal Indian artifacts and art, and then donated it really lock, stock and barrel to the Seattle Art Museum.
Oh, we got gas. We didn't vent it, goddamn.
John Halberg was always interested in Northwest Coast Indian art, and I met him when he expressed interest in buying some things from me and my family.
Way back in the early 70s, I remember sitting with John, and he was somewhere else. He was thinking about and was telling me about a place called Pilchuck. And the way he mentioned it, and I say this in terms of endearment, it just sounded like a bunch of hippies up in the woods under some shake roofs doing something that they really loved, and they were making such beautiful things that John Halberg was really beside himself. And John Halberg helped a lot of us young artists, a lot of us native artists and artists involved in native art, and he certainly helped me, and I've owed him a great deal all this time, 3 decades now. And then last year when Preston called me to invite me here, I knew that it was time to pay him back and to visit his wonderful dream, this place called Pilchuck.
Look at that. Really nice. And the middle figure on the totem pole is a diving raven with the sun in its mouth.
That's a very important story for the northern Northwest Coast, where Raven is responsible for capturing the sun and the moon and the stars and distributing them around the world, which he did by acts of trickery.
And Chihuly is holding on to the raven's wings, and so it's as if Chihuly brought the idea of the school to the world, whereas the raven brought the light to the world in the old mythology.
This is the diagonal section on the face that will represent Dale Chihuly. And we didn't want to do a patch, it'd be too blatant, and by having this diagonal here, it sort of represents that.
And then the idea was to be a glass eye, because this will be the glass element, and one of the eyes that represent Dale Chihuly would be like this vision of seeing glass.
When I was a student at the University of Washington, I built a little studio in the basement of a friend of the family's house. So one night I melted some stained glass between 4 bricks, took it up high enough in the oven to melt it, and I put a pipe in there, not a blowpipe, but just a regular old pipe, and gathered up some glass on the end of it and blew a bubble. And from that point on, I wanted to be a glass blower.
John Halberg and Dale Chihuly's meeting is really the matter of myth. Dale Chihuly came west and encountered John through a mutual friend.
Dale was looking for a place to have the school, and John was looking for somebody like Dale. It was something that was meant to happen.
I don't believe that they were close friends, but I think they were sort of colleagues in this parallel endeavor with a lot of mutual respect. Admiration, I'm sure, on John's part for the sheer chutzpah of Dale, and probably admiration on Dale's part for John, the businessman, taking the risk that he did, and this sort of symbiotic relationship between the two of them that lasted almost 2 decades.
You're out now. You have no choice, Dave. Come straight up. Yeah. Wait. There you go. Oh boy, almost. Wow. Ooh, that's close. How about a vacuum cleaner? No, you're perfect. Glove on. Nice. I need a follow-up with an 8 at least. Okay, get ready? With an 8. Okay.
In 1971, John brought Dale here to the Pilchuck Tree Farm to see the land.
John Hauberg owned several farms that he had purchased over the years, that we could have the whole farm, the barns, the buildings for the school.
Dale, ever the inspired person, said, but you know, there's that land up the road that has a fantastic view, and it really seems like the perfect site that we'd love to spend our summer.
I really wanted to be up on top of that hill where Pilchuck is now, and there were no houses up there.
John said, okay, if you want to be in a place that has no shelter, no electricity, no water, guess give it a try. And then remember, this is the early 70s, this is 1971, and the whole ethos of the time was returning to nature, returning to the land, dropping out. So this place in the woods answered all these needs of people who were leaving society behind.
Wow. It's in one piece.
It's in one piece.
That's the first good
Yeah.
side. Right tool here.
It's because we flipped the mold over and we did it where we could pack like crazy.
Yeah.
And when we pack this way and then try to press into it because it's already packed, it doesn't work.
Exactly, yeah.
You gotta have that
We'll scrape that sand off and it'll be just like a chunk of crystal.
Beautiful.
This is such a cool part of the pool.
Yeah, it's gonna be outrageous. Love it.
Thanks, John.
It ain't much.
Yeah.
The top figure is Annie Hauberg, and she's shown wearing the Chilkat robe and the Tlingit crest hat with the potlatch rings on the top. And that also denotes the high status of a particular individual. The hat is what we call ut'u, which means precious owned thing, that is an heirloom that's passed down through generations.
Anne Gould Hauberg, born and raised here in Seattle, met John Hauberg when he came here, married, children. She has always been credited with being the inspiration behind the notion of Pilchuck, of Dale coming with fellow artists and creating here.
I don't think it would have ever happened without Annie.